All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 355 of the Restoring Rapport podcast. This is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of marriage and family and trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way. I'm your host, Seth Hensley. I come on twice a week, every week, to try and equip and encourage you in your pursuit of the goal of a youthful marriage according to God's design, and just kind of everything related to marriage and family, especially when you're young. And so today we're going to be reviewing an article by Jeremy Pryor entitled 3 Generations, 1 Table Every Week. And something I've just been working on recently this year is just making my week a routine, because I've noticed that when I make a routine for my week and I have something on each day of the week that I specifically do on that day, I get a lot more done that I want to get done when it comes to what I think matters most. Spending time with my family, ministering to other people, serving, and all of that stuff. And so I've really been thinking a lot about routinizing my week and trying to build this ideal week that I can, live the rest of my life with, and thereby actually get a lot more done that I think is important to get done. Especially when it comes to, spending time with my wife, spending time with my family, spending time with my friends, all of that stuff. And so those things I think are super important for you guys who are moving towards the goal of marriage. You're going to have to build yourself an ideal week at some point. And so we're going to hopefully get a lot of tips for that in here, as he is talking about different generations being around the table every week together in this article. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in and see what he says. Jeremy Pryor is a guy that I've followed for a long time, and man, he just writes some awesome stuff and does a lot of good speaking events and has an awesome show called the Jeremy Pryor's podcast, and just does a lot of really cool stuff. So check him out if you haven't already. But he says business guru Jim Collins pointed out that the power of the single metric when he wrote, "There's one metric that towers above all others, one metric to track with obsession, one metric upon which the greatness of the entire enterprise hinges. It's not easy to find, but for every organization, there's one metric that, once everyone is focused on it, brings every activity into such focus and provides such crystal clarity that maintaining the focus makes achieving the mission a matter of time." I would imagine he's going to say the week here. He goes on to say, "I've seen the power of a single metric in practice. The drive to have the Bible translated in every language caught the attention of Matt Green from the Hobby Lobby family. The Green family brought together all of the organizations involved in Bible translations into a single effort focused on a single metric called Illuminations, which took this effort from a 100-plus year dream to entirely achievable by 2033. The hidden reason sports are so intoxicating is the power of the single metric, the scoreboard." Okay, so it's not the week, it's the scoreboard. "Imagine a sport attempting to gain popularity without a straightforward way to keep score. That's the game I was playing in our attempt to achieve our mission to restore the biblical blueprint for the family as a multi-generational team on mission." So the scoreboard, he says, is this metric that makes so many things possible and the growth of so much possible. He says, "Recently I met with a group of leaders from various family ministries, and we discussed the challenge of finding a single metric to rally around that would focus our efforts on restoring the family. I spent 2 months thinking about this problem, and a gathering in a hotel in Denver, an idea struck me that I wanted to share with all of you. This is my proposal for a single metric that could focus our efforts and achieve our mission. Here's the metric. 3 generations, 1 table every week. 3 generations, 1 table every week. Could we count how many families have achieved this goal? I would guess that less than 5% of families are experiencing this kind of weekly meal." Okay, so 3 generations, 1 table every week. So he's saying that this standard here that he has, this metric that he has, is 3 generations, 1 table every week. Do I have this currently in my life? Let's see. We have 2 generations, 1 table every week, multiple times a week, actually, like 3 or 4 times a week. I have 2 generations, 1 table every week, but 3 generations we do not have yet, because I think why is Lainey and I are, well, let's see. I am the oldest of my family. And so I'm probably going to be the one to have kids first. And since I haven't yet, that's why we haven't had 3 generations. We've only made it to 2. Whenever Lainey and I have children, we'll be at 3 generations. And we have several routinized events that we do with my family and other people every week, just to kind of show you where I'm at in crafting my week. On Mondays, Blaine and I just recently started going over to my parents every other Monday for a meal with, wait, no, we do have three generations. We do have three generations. That's right, because my grandparents are there, my parents are there, I'm there. We don't have the great grandchildren there. We don't have my children there yet because we don't have any yet. But on Mondays we go over to my parents' house to have a meal with my grandparents and my parents and my siblings, brothers and sisters. And then on Tuesdays every other Tuesday we go to Lainey's parents, to my wife's parents, to have dinner with her grandparents and her siblings. And well, sometimes that happens not on Tuesdays, but we're going over no matter what on Tuesdays because that's the day that we think it would work best for us. And then Wednesdays, I don't really have. Oh goodness, sorry about the yawn. I don't know what's going on there. I don't really have a Wednesday set routine right now. I do usually on Wednesdays either do mentoring or there's a game that I play with my brother, and we'll go over and play that together on Wednesdays. Actually, my whole family plays it. We go outside in Pokemon and walk in the parks that are around our houses. And so sometimes Noah and I will do that on Wednesdays because that's the raid day that they have in that game. And then Thursdays, I have a boys' night where this is really the only ministry that I have in my week right now, and the only source of like fellowship and friendship regular that I have in my week right now. I'd like to get more in there, but as of right now, this is just it because I don't know. You just don't. There's so much time that you have, but you can only do so much with that week too. So on Thursday evenings, at 5:30, I'll have the boys over. My brother-in-law, my brother, a couple of friends, and we will play through a story game that we've all, picked, and we pick it by basically everyone making a submission, and then we draw from a hat basically, and then that person's submission wins. We play through that game, and then we pick a new one, and I'll just buy them pizza, and we'll just have a relaxing time, hanging out and talking and working on something together. And so that's my Thursday evening. Friday evening is and has been since 20 years family night, and so I will go over to my family's house to spend time with them and get together with them, and only basically focus on something to do with them, just spend time with them in the same house. And then Saturdays, I don't really have something for Saturdays yet. That's like my third yawn. I don't really have something for Saturdays yet. I'm working on that. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions. Sometimes we'll do a weekend event, me and Noah will, for Pokemon. Others will other Saturdays, Lainey and I will do something else. Saturdays or Wednesdays usually is when Lainey and I will do dates, but I really want to get a more of a firm time for that down because mostly we spend a lot of time together anytime we're not at work, but I want to have like a day that we, use specifically for dates. And most of the time that's either Saturdays or Wednesdays, because on Wednesdays Lainey also goes to get her allergy shot. So we'll usually eat out on the way home, since we're both coming home from work and we don't want to make dinner after a trip into town for that medical appointment. And so usually we'll go out to eat on that day, but we'll have the date here. We'll like watch something and eat our meal here or something like that. Saturdays usually is when we'll go out and do something as a couple. So like that's an out date. Wednesdays are kind of an at-home date. But then again, the Wednesdays thing was an at-home date when we were both working. Now I'm on summer break, and so that might change a little bit, but I doubt it. I think we'll just keep doing it that way. And then Saturdays are usually when we go out and do something together. Sundays is our house church day, so we host bi-weekly meetings in our home. Actually, we're hosting June 1st coming up. This is being recorded on 5/26/2025. And on the 1st of June, I think we are hosting a meeting here. And so that's something that I've done for like 15 years. I've been a part of that from a child into my adult life. So I've been an attendee and also a host for that kind of meeting. And so that's something I really, really enjoy doing. And then that's kind of my week right now. And I think that I would it's not complete. There are things that I'm still working on, incorporating into my week, but let me know what your guys' week looks like right now, and if you have any kind of routine at all in that week, and what you want to incorporate into your week, because those are things I would really be curious to hear, especially because it might, number one, like help me get to know you, but number two, give me some ideas, for what I should add to my week. So let me know in the YouTube comments or on Instagram or Facebook what you think your week looks like right now and what you want your week to look like. He says, in contrast, I would say that more than 50% of the families in the state of Israel participate in this practice being 3 generations, 1 table every week, which, by the way, I'm excited to say I have. And not only that, but I have it in several ways, because I have, family night is not 3 generations. It's 2 generations, 1 table every week. And then Monday is 3 generations, 1 table every week. Tuesday is 3 generations, 1 table every week. Thursday is 1 generation, 1 table every week. Wednesday is just a couple's day. Saturday is just a couple's day. Sunday is, let's see here, 2 generations, 1 table every week with house church, because we don't have parents. But he says and he says that 50% of the families in the state of Israel participate in this practice. He says we lived in Israel on and off for the past 30 years, and seeing Gen 2 and Gen 3 families and individuals stream by thousands to Gen 1's house on Friday afternoon in time for Shabbat dinner is a sight that is seared into my mind. Israel is also the only country in the developed world with an above replacement birth rate, I think is what he means there, and the second place isn't even close. And you can see this table below. This is absolutely shocking. I have actually seen this table before, but Israel is the only, right here, this red line is replacement rate. So basically, if you're replacing yourself, you're having 2 children, because it takes 2 children to make 2 parents to make 1 child. And so in order to meet a replacement birth rate, you have to have 2 children in your family. If you don't, you're below replacement rate. If you have more than 2 children, you're above replacement rate. You're actually multiplying like God says in Genesis. And so you'll notice here, Israel is the only country in the entire world, I believe, currently, as of the time of this recording, that is above replacement rate. See, the United States, you can see, let's see, where is the United States? The United Kingdom's right here. Golly, are we not even on this chart? No, I bet you we are. We're just not, what's the word? We're not. South Korea, I think, is the lowest worldwide. I've seen that elsewhere. So we're somewhere in between Israel and South Korea, which is a huge margin. But France is actually the closest, and they're still, 0.2 below replacement rate. Israel is almost at 3. So they're at 2.8. They're way, way, way above replacement rate as far as how many children they're having. You can see here, just to go over this chart with you, the blue is children born per female in 2020. So as of the year 2020, this is what was happening. And then, so we will have some maybe COVID babies or something like that, but still, this is pretty current data. And then the red line is replacement level fertility. That is crazy to me that Israel is that far above everybody else. Absolutely wild. I think some of it might have to do with their Old Testament, because, being fruitful, multiplying, subduing, ruling, reigning, filling the earth, those are very Old Testament centric commands that God gives. And so that's naturally going to be something that Israel, heeds and makes sure that they're doing in their daily life. But I think that we can learn a lot from them in that way. Number one, just to go over a couple of reasons why having children is an awesome thing. Children are really the people who are designed to take care of you when you're old. And so saying I'm not going to have children is a pretty terrible long-term investment, because you're giving up the way of survival and support that most people are designed to have in their older life, in their elderly life. And so, if you want somebody to take care of you when you're old, your dog is not going to be able to do that. Pets aren't going to be able to do that. Friends aren't going to be able to do that. It's really your children are the people who do that. And children who are raised right will do that. And so that's why, and who make good choices will also do that. I want to give them personal responsibility too, but it's definitely important, thing there. Also, it's just such a big aspect of life. Children really are. I saw a post by a mom of one of my students on Facebook this week, where she basically said that, most of your children's life, you're going to know them as adults. There's a very small window where you know them as children. So in a very real sense, having children is a choice to have friends in your life. And very close friends who are closer than friends who are actually family. And so that's a great way to do it. Children are also a great way to instill values in someone else and serve and invest in the future of the world, because you can actually reach in way past your own lifespan and impact people through children. And if you don't do that, you're probably not going to be able to impact future generations if you don't have children once you are gone. They're also just a great way they're just so fun, man. They're so fun. I work with elementary students, grades K through five professionally. That's my profession. And there is a story every single day. They're an absolute blast. Of course, there's challenges. Of course, there's annoying parts, and there are children who you come from bad home situations and really, really challenge your ability to love them well. But overall, it is an amazing, amazing, amazing profession because of how fun it is. They just make you laugh all the time. They're so bright, and they always give you a chance to invest in them, and they really bond to you if you take the chance to invest in them, and it's just a really cool thing. So there's nothing. This narrative being pushed by culture that children are nothing but a burden is totally false. And anybody who thinks that, I think, just needs to reevaluate, how they're looking at the world. He says, and I'm not talking about the weeknight meal championed by many family ministries where we eat fast and talk faster before everyone scatters back to their individual pursuits. No, we're talking about a practice of a meal that feels almost timeless, an evening where no one has some place better to go. We are here to spend a whole evening together, to laugh, to share, to grieve, to play, to dance, to cook, to clean, to tell stories, and to live fully into our family identities as father, mother, brother, sister, or son or daughter. I know many of you reading this are leading families at various stages, so let me outline a practical first step toward achieving this goal. For young families with healthy parents nearby, which I think is what you should be striving for, young families, so having families when you're young, starting early. Again, any success guru who you read or listen to on a podcast or a book will tell you that if you want to be successful at something, you start early, and that is absolutely true of marriage and family too. If you want to have the most time with your partner as you possibly can, and if you want to get the best relationship and the best family as early as possible, then you need to start early. And I don't just mean like get married young by itself, which is great as long as you've made good steps prior to that, because there's a right way to get married young, there's a wrong way to get married young, just like there's a right and wrong way to do everything, including family. And so you need to be putting in the work, you need to be putting in the reps, you need to be putting in the investment way, way, way before it's actually time to begin those things. And then, so I'm saying start really young, like as a child, getting down the necessities that you need to have. And then now that you've mastered those, I'm talking to you guys who are moving into marriage, you're using all the skills that you've been practicing as a child. Your childhood was, basically leading you to this moment where you can now create a marriage and a family that's going to go the distance and that's going to last and be happy and impact those around you in positive ways. And so, yeah. He says for young families with healthy parents nearby. Oh, that was the second part I wanted to highlight and emphasize. If you can at all possible, please do not move away, in my opinion, from your parent. Whoa, that was a loud sound. From your parents' place of dwelling, like where they live, because if you do, it's going to create a strain on the ability of your family to connect and have frequent interaction and events and communion with each other. And so just try to stay as close as you can together, not just for the support that families are able to provide in times of need, but because it makes interaction so much more frequent and possible. Because if there's a huge distance between point A and point B, and closing that distance can be really hard for all parties involved. And so, and there's even more problems than that I haven't gotten into, but he says, practice this with your small immediate family first, and once you get this down, invite your parents to these periodically, and only invite them weekly if it's healthy and you all look forward to spending time together. If not, see the next option. So he's basically trying to say this weekly 3 generations around one table once a week should be something that you look forward to. And if it's not, you need to reevaluate and make it something that you look forward to, and whatever needs to happen in order for it to be something that you look forward to needs to happen is basically what he's saying there, and I totally agree. I'm not talking about building yourself a week here that is burdensome on your mind or difficult for you to, do and pull off. This is not that. I'm talking about something that's easy for you to do, but that still ministers to other people and still creates frequent opportunities of interaction for your family and your friends. That's what I'm talking about. Community, communion, that kind of thing. And especially that's really healthy for your marriage, because if you want a strong marriage, those are some good things for it. This next one he says is for young families with unhealthy parents. So basically when you're flying solo and you don't have the prior generation that has done all of this before you, and they've got your back. This is what you need to do. He says you can try this once or twice and see if it still works out, but if not, please don't get discouraged. This rhythm is still for you and your family. The only difference is that you will achieve three generations when your kids have kids, and that's okay. It's a considerable achievement. It took generations for your family to become broken. It will take generations to heal your family. But if you do this well, your grandchildren will never know a time before the experience of this multi-generational meal, which is a cool thought, because you can really change the course of your family's life, history and trajectory based on the decisions that you make today. That's absolutely true. His next heading is for young families with healthy parents far away. So this is the challenging category I mentioned earlier. Another thing I would do, guys, just that I can throw in here real quick, is if at all possible, find your spouse locally. Find your spouse locally, because what happens if you don't find your spouse locally, if you go away somewhere to find your spouse locally, it is very difficult on both families, because one or both of them are going to be without their child directly in their life. And so if you find your spouse locally, all of the family members, all of the loved ones in your entire life are within, driving distance. That is ideal, because you can visit both families. You can do things with both people without any strain or any long periods of time elapsing between visits or things like that. It just makes frequent communion possible if you find your spouse in an area where you both live, and then you can live there as well. And so you have access to both of your families and your the family that is being created from your husband and wife union. And so I would encourage you to do that. But he says, to those of you who come from healthy families and have healthy parents far away, he says, let your parents experience this when they come for a visit. Have them share stories, give them a seat of honor, let them know this happens every week, and their visits will likely get longer and more frequent. And at some point in the future, a move is likely to happen in your direction. So he's probably seen that happen over and over in his personal experience. He says, for families with older kids, tread carefully here. Your kids may have been trained that family should always be sacrificed on the altar of personal preferences. It usually takes a father repenting to his teens that he has led them toward hyper-individualism and a request to get their buy-in on a new experimental practice. Ask them to agree to try this for 2 months. Let them help with the menu and activities, and sometimes invite friends. They have to want to do this for this to take hold in the next generation. So basically he's saying, if you want this to be something that lasts, and especially something that your kids put into practice once you're gone, you're going to have to actually, to get them to buy in, you're going to have to get them to be this event to be something that they look forward to. So this needs to have some elements of things that they enjoy and not just things that you want them to do, I think is what he's saying. And I think that's definitely true. I think it should be like that for everybody though. Like the team, I'm not saying that everyone should get what they want all the time, and then the family team should just, eat the scraps of whatever's left. I'm saying that the family assembly should be something that everyone looks forward to. So however you can make that happen is great. Like tonight, we're going to go over to my parents for Memorial Day to do Frisbee golf and have a meal and play a Nancy Drew game together. All three of those things are things that everybody in my family likes doing. And so, everybody likes doing in some form or facet. Some like doing this, some like doing that, some like taking part in this way, some like taking part in that way. And so that's something that we can all look forward to for all three of those things. So that's great. Find those things and just make sure that you do them together as a family. This person says for grandparents with adult kids, Jeremy says for grandparents with adult kids, he says, make this easy on your adult kids. Make it an amazing experience for your grandkids. Maybe start it once a month to not overwhelm your adult kids, and make it more frequent after they love this rhythm and you have their buy-in. So he's saying start infrequent and get frequent. I think that's smart, and not just for the buy-in aspect, but because if you start small, it's going to be more likely that you will be able to sustain this rhythm long term. Because if you just say, oh man, I'm going to host this every single week, and we're going to do this every single week, and that's like taking 15 steps instead of taking one step. It's like taking a huge giant jump instead of taking a very easy, simple first step. And so it's just going to be harder, which if you can do it, great. If that's not going to impact your ability to do it long term, great. If you're not biting off more than you can chew, great. But if it's something that's going to overwhelm you, maybe just start with once a month. He says everyone can slowly and steadily move their family towards this practice of 3 generations, 1 table every week. If we focus our efforts into this single metric, the broken Western family will be something our great grandchildren will only know about through studying our sad and confused period of history. So I do think this is a really cool article. 3 generations, 1 table every week is something that I think would help us very much if we could master this as young believers who are getting married young and crafting our family. So definitely take that into consideration here. I've done this and I would encourage you not to do this in just one way, but to try and do this with friends, and try and do this with family. And try to do it, I would even say, don't just start this way. Like Jeremy said, take small steps, but eventually get to the place where you can do multiple kinds of events like this every week. Because man, if you can do that, your life is just full of joy, full of communion, full of fellowship. You know, we quote the Hebrews 10:25 verse all the time as young believers, where Paul says, let us not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as we see the day approaching. And usually that's used as kind of a guilt trip to make people stay in churches on Sunday mornings. But what Paul is actually discussing there is not forsaking the assembling of ourselves as the body of Christ. You need to be, and for some reason, we arbitrarily pick the number 3. Go to church on Wednesday evenings, go to church on Sunday mornings, go to church on Sunday evenings. Even if it wasn't arbitrary, those are the 3 times we pick to assemble, and we say, don't give up assembling on those 3 times. But it's really like, how do you know it stops at those 3 times? Like, this is supposed to be something that we look forward to, something that strengthens, nourishes, edifies the body of Christ. And so this is not something you should have to drag people into doing. This is something that people should come to and be drawn to naturally. And so why would you not want more of those experiences in your week? Why would you not want more communion, more fellowship, more opportunities for fellowship in your week? And, you know, the answer is, if you really know what those things are, you should want more of those. And so absolutely, don't give up meeting together, yes. But there's that verse means so much more than assembling in, a church service. That means like getting together with regularity with other believers, and sharpening and strengthening and encouraging each other, because that's incredibly important. That's scriptural. We're commanded by Paul says we should do that, and I think he's absolutely right. He was inspired of God to write that, and so. Thank you guys for listening today. Hope you've enjoyed. If you have, reach out and let me know what you thought of the episode through the YouTube comment section. And you can also tell me what you thought through Instagram and Facebook by sending us a personalized either audio voice message or just a typed message. We would love to hear that. It would make us feel super connected to you guys as audience members, and it would make the podcasting system 2-way. Don't forget to let me know what your week looks like right now, and also what you want your week to look like. Give me some events that you want to include in your weekly rhythm. And thank you guys so much for listening today, and I will talk to you all next time.